Hey everyone, welcome to Needing a Meeting. My name is Tara. I go by Tara Smiling some days, and I am filling in for Carol today. She may or may not be in here. She's running a little late at the very least. I have the wonderful, the marvelous Ben Turner here. I think y'all saw me spit out some gum in the beginning of this stream, so I apologize. I was trying to get that done before, but I missed the mark on that. And now I've got an echo, so bear with me while I make all these rookie mistakes. So if you want to join us on the panel today, I would love to have your company. It's always nice to see new faces and returning faces here. I do have a topic in mind. Sometimes I like to wait a little bit and build up to the topic. But I'm wondering if for the purpose of today's discussion, if I might just throw it out immediately. So if you want, Ben, have you put the link out for people so that if you want to join us, just click the link that Ben is going to post.
It may say Carol.
Oh, it might say, okay. Okay, so Carol's not quite here yet. I'm hoping that she is able to join us today, but just in the event that she isn't, we are prepared to throw a show today. So, okay, the topic that I have in mind while we're waiting to see if anybody wants to join us is acceptance. Acceptance is the topic for today. Acceptance. Yep. In 12-step and in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I hope this is not triggering to anybody, but it's ingrained in my brain that acceptance is the answer to all of our problems. And some of you might know, if not all of you know, acceptance is the first step. And this is not just in recovery. This has to do with other areas as well, like grief, for example. Although denial can come before grief, the first active step, although I guess you could argue that denial is an active thing, is acceptance. Acceptance is the first step in recovery, as far as I've been taught. And I struggle with this personally. I struggle sometimes to remember that I do have a challenge with substances. Once I start engaging in substance use, I cannot stop. And that's when it turns to misuse for me. Sometimes I like to fantasize and think to myself, oh, and really quick, I want to pause. I want to say, hey, Kenneth, nice to see you. Welcome in. Nancy, I love your name. The lifeboat is lurking. I hope you do come up and join us, Spanx. It would be great to have your company up here. Tampa B Man in the house. Welcome in, everybody. And anybody that might be lurking, please feel free to drop a comment. We love hearing from you and knowing who's in here with us. And if you want to click the link that Ben posted as Carol at Needing a Meeting, you can click that link and come and join us today. And we can talk about some acceptance. Or if you've got something else that you want to talk about, that's totally fine too. Anything is fair game in this meeting. So back to what I was saying, I sometimes struggle with remembering that I have a problem, and I hate to call it the addict mind because I don't really love that word anymore. I don't really find myself identifying it because I've come so far in my recovery journey that I don't really consider myself an addict anymore. However, I still have to remind myself that at one point in time, I was a slave to drugs and alcohol, both of them. And so acceptance, like the Big Book says of Alcoholics Anonymous, the Big Book says acceptance is the answer to all of my problems. And again, this is not specific to just substance use. I think it's a beautiful, sentiment's not the right word, but it's a beautiful statement that acceptance is the answer to all of my problems. And I don't know if anybody in here saw the interview with Conversations with Christy and Ben, our very own Ben, Bacon Man Turner. I had a great interview over on Conversations with Christy's channel today. And I think that acceptance, I was thinking about it, and I think acceptance can even be, Tony in the house. Hey, Tony. I think acceptance can even be applied to boundary setting.
Mm.
Like, I was really contemplating that in between that interview with you and Christy, and now thinking to myself, well, you can't ever get to the part where we're applying boundaries if we don't accept that a boundary needs to be set
Oh,
and
okay.
implemented.
I see where you're going. Yeah.
So acceptance really is, from my perspective, and feel free to debate this if you think something else comes first, like denial. I could see that argument. But so that's what I wanted to get started with. The topic is acceptance, and if anybody else wants to chime in on this, I would love to hear what you have to say about acceptance.
It's kind of funny that you chose acceptance as the topic, because I just got in contact with like a third or fourth generation cousin, like on my dad's side. It's one of the Cloricks, and they're all JWs. And we got to talking, and she asked me what congregation or Kingdom Hall do I go to. Well, I didn't answer her right away because I was trying to think of how to answer her. So she came back with, well, you're either not a JW or you're
Mm.
busy. And I came back and I said, busy with baby. And no, I'm not. And she continued to talk with me, and she goes, I'm here. I don't judge. I don't mean to make you feel like you're judged. So she was accepting me for me. And that felt so good, because I don't get that a lot. I don't get, like, most of my family that are JWs want to pull me back in. They want to make me back into what they are. And I'm not about that. That's not who I am. That's never who I was. And that's never who I will be. So to have a family member, even somebody that I haven't seen in decades, accept me for who I am means the world to me,
Mm.
And so when you said that, Tara, that, it's your topic was acceptance and stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful topic to talk about today. You're muted, Tara.
Thank you for calling me out. That has been happening to me a lot lately. I am so glad that you called me out before too long passed, because the other day I was talking on mute for a good 30 seconds before I realized it. So,
Well, I happened to see your lips moving but not hear your voice, so it had to be that you were either on mute or your mic disconnected.
I
okay.
accept that you joined my mute club. Water's nice.
King of the typos and the mute button. I want to welcome in One with Cats. Shell, nice to see you. Always nice to see you. And Tampa B-Man in the house. Hey, Tampa. So what I heard you talk about, Tony, that really stuck out to me was unconditional love. Now, the topic or the concept that we learn in peer support is to have an unconditional positive regard for somebody, and how impactful that can be. A lot of people who are in recovery have never experienced an unconditional positive regard. Now, that being said, if we're talking about our personal lives here, then boundaries are important. So I'm not by any means suggesting that we have an unconditional positive regard with lack of boundaries, but that it can be incredibly powerful and life-changing for someone to experience unconditional love, as long as there are appropriate boundaries and we're safe in that relationship.
Yep, that's it exactly. And to feel that and know that she's accepting me for me and not judging me for my choices in my life is really nice to have. It's nice for anybody to have, because there has to be boundaries always. Because if we don't keep our boundaries, then people bring us into their drama and everything else, and we can end up having our own issues, whether it's with alcohol, drugs, gambling, whatever our addiction is. But to have somebody to accept us for who we are and say it's okay to be you, but no, this is my boundary, is good for them as well, because then they realize that, oh, okay, I have to honor their feelings as well as they honor mine. So it's kind of a two-way street is the way I look at it.
We have someone joining us in the background. It sounds like we could all use a little acceptance today.
Yeah, he's being a little noisy. I think he's
Yeah.
tired, but
Yeah.
I don't know. He's been Mr. Cranky Butt lately.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to accept that I'm tired and cranky and fall asleep too. I get it. Ben, what are your thoughts on acceptance as it applies to anything, really, recovery or any topic in your life?
I was going to disagree with you earlier when you were talking about acceptance being required, but you once more have changed my mind. I see your point. Before I was thinking, well, what's there to accept? But I see now that what the intention was versus what I thought I understood. That you have to, at least in my case, I had to accept that I had a problem that needed to be solved. Because, like you were saying earlier, we can all be in denial, and denial is how we actually did, or how I did stuff before I got help. And I think that's probably true for probably everybody here. I can't see you getting help for a problem you don't accept. So, yeah.
Yeah, in my early days of recovery, sorry about the siren. I think they might be coming to get me. So, hi. So I'm still in my early days of recovery. I'm 3 years in. In my early days, like before I had a year, I jokingly would refer to the denial stage as step 0. And it actually caught on in my local home groups. I was really surprised that nobody had ever heard that before. But it makes a lot of sense to me that if you're in denial, you haven't actually gotten to the process of working any kind of steps, whether you're in 12 step or not.
Yeah.
There's got to be some starting point to a recovery.
Sure.
And if like you were just touching on, Ben, if we haven't accepted, if I had never accepted that I had a problem, let me backtrack for a second here and say that I stopped drinking several months before I discovered recovery and started working a program. And I couldn't stop smoking marijuana. That was the thing that I had to have. I had to be placed in a house that was clean and sober where I got drug tested. It was a safe house, and I got drug tested every week. The director actually called me today, and we had a nice chat. But I digress. I go on tangents sometimes, so bear with me. But before I got placed in that safe house and actually started working a recovery program, I would tell people when I had stopped drinking, but recovery wasn't on my radar. I didn't understand it was a thing at all. And people would offer me a shot, and I'd be like, no, thanks. I'm not drinking right now. I'm not an alcoholic. And I'd always put my hand out like that. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just not drinking right now. And at one stage or at one point when I said that, someone said to me, they gave me the side eye, and they were like, if you have to say something like that, do you think you might have a problem? And that hadn't occurred to me at all. It was just like, well, I stopped on my own accord. Well, I paused. I would drink after that, like I wasn't quite done yet, but I did go through a period where I abstained, and I thought I had it under control because I could say no, which I had never tried at that stage. So anyways, at that point, I was still in denial. I was at step 0, as I call it, and hadn't quite got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I might actually have a problem that needs to be addressed. And that came later.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, he's very cute. He's the baby grandbaby. He's the grandson number 5, and no granddaughters.
Someone had a Kenneth. Are you able to see the comment from? It was the timestamp 13:47:51. A Kenneth said, "I know I'm addicted to alcohol and can't drink ever. I'm very tightly controlled in my medication use too, because I know I have that one addiction, and I'm worried I might have others." Sensible? I don't know. What are our thoughts on this?
It's smart, if you ask me, because if you have one addiction and
Hmm.
you stop one addiction, it's that much easier to pick up a new addiction. I can name you at least 3 addictions in my life right now that I have to be very aware of so that I don't fall into the habit of doing them. Like I have to take all games, like phone games and computer games, off. Otherwise, I will spend insane amount of money on them.
Hmm.
And I don't have insane amount of money to spend on them.
Yeah.
Same with shopping. I have to be really careful. Like I have the shopping apps and everything, but I don't allow myself to go into them just whenever I want willy-nilly.
Hmm.
I like decide if this is really something I need, and then I go from there. I'm addicted to tobacco. The one thing I'm not addicted to is alcohol and drugs. Mine are, but even though alcohol and drugs can sometimes be more severe, the other addictions that I have their repercussions as well. Because if I spend too much money, it's going to harm my family. And we could be out on the streets, you know? And we support a family of 8 that we keep a roof over. So me spending insane amount of money is not a good thing. So I have to make sure that I don't allow that addiction to overtake my life.
I do know it was interesting, and I think I may have even mentioned it several times that in I can't believe I can't remember a term to call that. In the treatment center I went to, it was amazed at the number of people who started smoking there. And it makes sense because you're still under stress. You're off meth, alcohol, whatever, cocaine, whatever brought you there. But everybody's still under stress, especially because they're addressing their issues that they would pick up and just, everybody who came out of there was addicted to tobacco, and then they had to work on that. But may still be harm reduction because you aren't doing meth. So
Yeah.
I want to say hello to Minsk. It's nice to see you. And yes, the cops are coming. They were definitely coming. I muted my mic because it got pretty out of control there for a second. Nice to see you, Minsk. And one other thing I wanted to say about A. Kenneth's comment is that I cannot determine, whether or not someone else has a problem. That's for a person. It's a very personal thing for me to say, I had a problem with weed. I also had a problem with alcohol. Other things I don't think have been a problem for me, even if I have engaged with substance use. Other things did not bring me to my knees and sabotage my life like alcohol and marijuana did. Now, that's not to say that marijuana is not a good fit for some people. I know I have friends who use it medicinally for pain and it works wonders for them. And I respect that. I personally can't use it. It's a sad day. It's a sad day because I had a very close and personal relationship with it. And I think it saved my life, as a matter of fact. During the period of time that I wasn't properly medicated by the nurse practitioner that I work with now, I think it served an important purpose in my life, and I might have not survived without it. But that being said, now I've got to the point of acceptance where I realize it was a problem for me, and it's a very personal decision. So to A. Kenneth's comment earlier, I think if you think you might have a problem, I personally think that it's worth looking at and facing it and being honest. I think honesty is like a really critical component here. Is it affecting your life in a negative way? Is it something that you want to stop and you can't? I checked those boxes with alcohol and marijuana. I had a very difficult time letting those go. So that's my 2 cents on it. I think it's a very personal decision, and I think it can be difficult to accept, but life can get better after that step is taken. So Tampa B Man says, temptation is okay. It's part of life. Acting on it is an addiction. as an addiction prone person isn't a good thing. You know what you are capable of, D. Souza, good for you. And I think this is an important point too. It's like, well, if we have addictive tendencies, it's likely that it's going to trickle over into other areas of life. For me, I love caffeine, and people have very polarizing opinions on coffee and caffeine. My nurse practitioner did not like the amount of coffee that I was drinking when I started working with her. Now that I'm properly medicated, I only drink a couple cups of coffee a day, and it's more of a comfort thing. I don't need it as a jump start anymore. So even though it's a polarizing topic, caffeine is not interfering with my life in a negative way. It's not something that I want to stop and can't. So I continue to enjoy my coffee in the morning.
Yes. I got to the same point. I had to give it up just to prove that I could. And then once I started back on, it's down to 2 cups.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Not that it's my business to determine what's reasonable in your life. It's not my business. But if you're comfortable with it, then I support your caffeine consumption.
I go anywhere from half a pot to a full pot, which is a 12-cup pot.
I used to be in that same boat, Tony. I could not get going in the morning without it.
And it's kind of funny. It's not that it gets me going. I just love the taste of coffee. And so I enjoy drinking a cup of coffee. And depending on my mood or how I'm feeling, depends on if I drink 2 or 3 cups or 12 cups. So.
Mayonnaise Entertainment in the house. Hey, Mayonnaise, nice to see you. I see your comment. I'm a addict. I see that. I hear that. I also used to identify that way.
You know, when I think about it, everybody has some sort of an addiction of some kind. Some can be harmful, some cannot. You know, it's just how we treat that addiction can make or break us. And depending on what that addiction can make or break us. And acknowledging that we have that addiction and that we choose to control that addiction in one way or another can make or break us as well. So, you know, an addiction could be as small as being addicted to coffee every morning, like a ritual, and then you drink it throughout the day, and then you make another pot, you drink the rest of that through the night, you know, and you can't make it through the day without all that coffee. That's an addiction. That's an addiction. But is it harmful to you? Is it bringing you harm, or are you interspersing your coffee with things like water and juice and food, and you're not just filling your body up with caffeine all day? You know, could you possibly not have that second pot of coffee? And I'm just using coffee as an example because it's what popped in my head. But could you not have that second pot of coffee and still be okay? If you have to have that second pot of coffee, it might be an addiction. And you need to look at your life like that on pretty much anything that goes on in your life, because it makes you open your eyes to see what you do in your life that might be harmful to yourself or to others.
I think the coffee thing is an interesting topic because, like, Tampa B, was it Tampa B? Oh yeah, Tampa B man said harm reduction, and I think it's like, okay, if I'm not putting a ridiculous, unhealthy amount of booze in my body anymore, and I'm not, say, I've personally never interacted with heroin before. Well, I've been offered it, but I've never actually tried it before. Like, if I'm not doing those, let's just say I was like, if I'm not doing that anymore, but I want to have some coffee, even if it's a pot of coffee, like, harm reduction works. You know, if I want to have more than what would be deemed as healthy coffee, or some people use marijuana as harm reduction. I did that. I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. But when I quit, or when I tried stopping drinking alcohol, I started smoking a lot more marijuana, and that got me through to where I wasn't abusing my liver anymore. Now, it caused problems in my life, the amount that I was smoking, which was all day, every day. But I think it was better than blacking out and driving drunk So it was a step in the right direction. It was part of my recovery before I even knew I was in recovery.
Hmm.
And another thing, I feel like I'm bogarting the floor here, but I just have so much to say in response to people's comments. Mayonnaise Entertainment said, I know I'm an addict and I always will be one. And I totally respect this opinion. I felt the same way at one point in time. I was like, once an addict, always an addict. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I believed that. And now that I've gone through peer support specialist training and have studied the 5 stages of change, I have a changing opinion. I wouldn't say that I'm in the extinction process, which is step 5. I still consider myself in recovery and not recovered, but I am open to the idea of eventually being recovered and not considering myself an alcoholic or an addict. I hesitate to use those words because I haven't drank in over 3 years, and I usually don't have a desire to. If I do, there's something going on that needs to be processed. But I think the stages of change, I didn't realize it existed until peer support specialist training. And it goes pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, extinction, or no, maintenance is number 4, and extinction. And I would say that I'm in step 4, the maintenance part, not extinction. But for some people, they can get to the point where they're extinct and consider themselves recovered. And I think that gives me hope that one day I will be free of this monkey on my back. Okay, A. Kenneth says, thank you all. I've been a little worried about the idea of not taking meds that I need. I haven't been taking as much pain medication as my, how do you say that word? Rheumatologist?
Yeah, that's right.
Prescribed. That's a tough one, A.
Yeah.
Kenneth. I am not a medical doctor. Nothing you see here is medical advice. I personally, if this was, my viewpoint, this is just my perspective, so take it with a grain of salt. I want to be on the same page with my prescriber always. And if I'm considering lowering a dose of something, I clear it with them first because I don't know what impact that's going to have. I recently wanted to lower my at-home ketamine treatment dose and talked with my nurse practitioner about doing that first, and she was totally on board with it. It's working out really well for me to take a lower dose at home. And I'm considering talking to her this weekend when I go into the clinic about lowering my in-clinic dose to reduce the amount of recovery time that I have, to just see how that goes. I don't know the implications of not taking the meds that I need or taking less than I need. So I personally wouldn't mess with that. I would involve my prescriber 100% of the time.
Sure. Yeah, that's something I know I don't understand at all, because I was just blown away when, like, I found people were getting addicted to pain medication. I was thinking, well, you're taking it for pain, but it took me a long time to recognize that people were taking it that aren't in pain. But if you're in pain, it seems like that's there for a reason.
I'm with Tara. You need to talk to your prescriber, your doctor, your rheumatologist, because of the fact it is a pain medication.
Yeah.
Some pain medications, if you lower a dose too fast, you can have negative reactions to it. So it's really important to talk to your doctor about it. Now, if you're not in as much pain and don't need as much, and your doctor says it's okay, you can adjust it down, then definitely I fully support that idea. But don't mess with medications at all.
Yeah.
Even it's so dangerous. It really is. I'm on medications that I have to be stepped down off of to come off them. I can't just stop because it could have really bad effects on me.
Yeah, withdraw is not something to play around with. And in my experience, I have a fantastic nurse practitioner. She doesn't want me withdrawing from anything ever. And so
Yeah.
that's why that was my biggest concern with one of the meds that I'm on that works on my dopamine receptors, is that like when I come off of this, am I going to withdraw? And she said she wouldn't let me withdraw. But the caveat there is that I have to include her in my process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And the thing is if you're in pain, that's what the pain meds are there for, is to help with the pain. But you have to be able to identify whether or not you're actually in pain or not. You know, and that's where the people get addicted to the pain medications, because they think that they need it when they really don't. And so they just keep taking it, and before you know it, they're addicted to it. I'm very aware of that. One of the things I used to take was, it's an anti-anxiety, Xanax. I used to take Xanax. And I knew what Xanax could do. I knew that I could very easily become addicted to Xanax. So I was very careful about taking it, and it was prescribed as needed. Well, how bad is my anxiety attack? It's not that bad. Do I really need the Xanax? No, I think I can make it through, so I'm not going to take it. But when I go into a full flare, it's like, okay, I really need this Xanax, so I'm going to take it. And I never became addicted. But there's medications out there like that even just taking it like you should, you can become addicted to it. So that's why it's so important on prescribed medications to discuss it with your doctor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see, Tampa, I've got a new neurosurgeon that does minimally invasive. Hopefully that'll happen for me. That sounds great, Tampa B, man. Minimally invasive. That's right up my alley. I hope. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Oh no, I was just going to say it's amazing some of the stuff they can do now. It's so much better for the bod. I hope that happens for Tampa.
Yeah.
I had to have my gallbladder removed because I had stones and they just wouldn't go away. I have 2 little scars. That's it. 2 little itty bitty scars that came in, took it out that way. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Minsk had that comment that you had up before, Ben, Minsk, what's your thoughts of the side effects of those medications? I'm guessing that you're asking the medications that I'm taking. That's all I can really speak to because I'm not a medical health professional. For me, and maybe you're not talking about the medications I take. Feel free to clarify, Minsk. My thoughts on the side effects of the medications that I take are that we have painstakingly, we being me and my nurse practitioner, we have painstakingly experimented with different medications until we have landed on the ones that work for me. I have tried several that have made me drowsy. No matter what time I take it, I was drowsy. So that one we tossed. One, Avelity was the name of it, made me feel drunk. I happen to be a body type, metabolism type that doesn't process Avelity correctly, and I felt drunk, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. It was really uncomfortable, and that happened after about 24 hours, which is a bummer because I was really hopeful that that medication would work for me, but it didn't. I have a positive side effect from one of the medications that I take. My baseline blood pressure is very low, like almost unhealthily low. And I started taking Wellbutrin not too long ago, a few months ago, and it's actually increased my blood pressure to where it's a healthy level now. So I would call that a positive side effect. I used to get dizzy sometimes, usually if I wasn't hydrated enough, but that doesn't really happen to me anymore unless I'm super dehydrated. So that's a positive. I don't think that's the correct term, positive side effect, because that means it exists, but it's a beneficial side effect.
Sure.
The ketamine treatment for me makes me very tired for about 24 hours after, which is why I want to lower my dose. But the benefits that I get throughout the week are so significant that it's a cost that I'm willing to pay for the benefits. So I think everybody experiences side effects differently, and it's really important to communicate the side effects, whatever they may be, to your doc, because something that you think is acceptable might not be. Like walking around feeling drunk is not an acceptable side effect for me personally.
I have migraines really bad, and I had a neurologist. He ended up leaving where he was at, but he had me on an injectable migraine med that I took monthly or weekly, something like that. I can't remember. But I take this injection. The first injection I ever took made me itch to the point where I felt like I was going to scratch my skin off because I felt like I had bugs crawling inside me and stuff. And it was like the weirdest feeling. And when I told him, he's like, no, we don't need you on that medication. That's not a good medication for you. So the medication's called Emgalti. And it's an injectable that you take once a month or once a week or something like that. And it worked. I mean, it kept the migraine away, but the side effects weren't worth it.
You know what? A Kenneth's comment here. Yes, I'm in pain. I'm using a cane now limit my movement. It's too complicated for this meeting. I think I'm sorry. I hope that you get the support that you need and deserve. I am so happy to listen to you, and we can apply acceptance to this situation and say, like, it sucks that you're going through pain. I think definitely an open dialogue with the treating physician is the best outcome that could happen here, because I'm not a doctor. I wish I could help you. All I can do is offer peer support, but that's not going to fix the level of pain that you're in.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out to me about how drugs can affect people differently, of all things, stevia. And I kept, well, what does this have to teach me? Depending upon your DNA, stevia will taste sweet to some people, but people who have this certain DNA marker, it will taste incredibly bitter to. And that is something simple. It's a sweetener. If DNA can affect that to where it's completely opposite, what drug, what painkiller medication will do to you, so yeah, I think it's very important to find something that works and something where you're having beneficial effects.
Absolutely. Ray in the house. Hey, hanging with Mr. Ray. Glad you're here. Ray says it's bacon. I think he's talking to you, Ben.
Maybe he's talking to his breakfast food too. Could be.
Okay, so I find this to be a challenging comment, and it's not an attack by any means, but I saw it come through and I was like, what do y'all think about this? So a close friend of mine has scoliosis, and because we're addicts, a doctor won't help. So this is tough.
Yeah,
this is a really tough, really frustrating situation. What do y'all think about this? Ben, Tony?
I'll let you go, Ben, first.
Tag, you're it.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that is something that, honestly, is it something you can get a second opinion on?
I like that.
I mean, we get second opinions for, at least most of us get second opinions for dentistry.
Yeah, and I'm curious about the implications of this. I don't know much about scoliosis, but is the fact that you're mentioning
scoliosis,
the fact that you're mentioning that there's a problem because of your history, that leads me to believe that there's pain involved. And there are natural remedies. Like, I'm not condoning marijuana. Like, I'm in recovery from marijuana. So it's really difficult for me to say, but I know that my nurse practitioner does prescribe medical marijuana to people with pain issues, and it's effective. And so I would I think always that honesty is the best policy. And this is not just with respect to a relationship with a prescriber or a medical care professional. This is with respect to life in general. I think honesty is always the best policy. And I'm wondering what would happen if the conversation went something like, Doc, I'm in pain here. I understand that you don't want to prescribe me pain meds. I'm not fishing for pain meds, but I need help here. I have scoliosis. Like, please, what can we do?
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what I was thinking, because I personally have issues with doctors that will turn you away because you're an addict or an alcoholic or whatever it might be. Scoliosis is not comfortable. It's a degeneration of the spine. And so it's very, it's very painful, really. And the body starts to bend over. So like the spine starts to bend over and you get an arch in the spine. And so it's really uncomfortable and really painful. And so for a doctor to say, well, I'm not going to treat you because you're an addict or you've been an addict, I'd be saying, okay, you're fired. I'm finding a new doctor that's going to be willing to work with me and help me find something that's going to work for me, whether it's natural or otherwise. Let's work together to find something that I can use that won't affect my addiction issues, but will help with the pain I feel. So I've fired a doctor. I had a doctor tell me one time that my son was too young to have migraines. I'm sorry. My son was the same age I was, 7, when we both started having migraines. At that point, he went to the pediatrician. The pediatrician's like, oh, yeah, we deal with this all the time. Sent him over to pediatric neurology, and my child was on medication. Fire them. You don't have to keep a doctor. You can fire your doctors. Now, I know it's harder in other areas if you're not in the U.S. and other countries and stuff. It's harder because they wait so long just to get a doctor. But if a doctor is not willing to work with you, then you need to fire them and find another one.
Find somebody who can help you. Yeah, and I like
somebody that can help you.
Geoplanet Jane in the house. Welcome in, Geoplanet Jane. She said pain specialist docs will help and neurosurgeons can help with scoliosis. So yes. I agree with this statement. I feel like if your doctor that you're going to right now will not treat you because of your past, then it might be time to find someone else to tango with.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, and I find what Manganese was talking about earlier, talking about his friend who was in pain at scoliosis, and then he was talking to how, so his friend's in pain, and so he turns to the street for drugs, and not.
Which is like the most dangerous thing right now.
Right.
Yeah. It's so dangerous to do that. It just makes me so concerned when I hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would not, if I was still using marijuana, I would not be buying it on the street right now because even marijuana is laced with fentanyl these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here's a good story for you. Dustin, my boyfriend, he has the strangest reaction to marijuana I have ever seen in anybody. Just the smell of it turns him instantly angry. And it has nothing to do with his past. It's always been this way. He smells it, he's angry. We have a producing plant here in Columbia that's close to where he works too, and he has to drive by it every day. And as soon as he smells it, boom, he's angry. So he has to sit in his truck for a few minutes to calm himself before he goes into work so he doesn't take that anger into work. I've never heard of anybody that has had that kind of a reaction to marijuana. So he doesn't touch it.
Smart. Because the first time I ever used marijuana, well, the second time I ever used marijuana, I had a reaction to it. I could not control my body. And it was like I was like not convulsing, but my arms wouldn't stop. I had no control over my appendages. And I continued to use after that. Not smart.
We don't always do what's best for ourselves.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that, that's just an example of how our different senses can even cause a negative reaction to something. So to be aware of that,
One of the one of the saddest things I've seen with somebody with such great potential. He was one of my fellow drummers in the town I grew up in. Really talented guy. He was one of those people I really wanted to dislike because of his musical ability. He could pick up any instrument, kind of like oh, I can't remember the guy's name, but and he could play it. But he was a super nice guy. You couldn't even hate him. And of all things, he got messed up in of all marijuana that was laced with something. He got drug-induced schizophrenia, and he wanders the streets now.
To this day, huh?
Yeah,
Wow, that's so sad.
yeah. It's just a yeah, but I guess that's the problem with the street drug too. You'd have no idea really what if it's pure or not.
Right.
You
It
know,
is so dangerous now. I mean, it's always been dangerous, but it is more now than ever. Uh,
yeah,
it's like Russian roulette out there.
yeah. You're literally about a 33 or a 15% chance. Yeah,
Mm. Zelda Z says pain specialists will usually prescribe if you don't use more than they give you. Be tested every month to make sure you're taking it and nothing else, and also trying other therapies. My experience.
mm,
We love when you share your experience, Zelda Z. I'm so glad that you did. And I think a good pain specialist, like that's their job, right? Is to make sure that you don't have to endure unnecessary pain.
yeah,
So who said it earlier? Geoplanet Jane said earlier, regular doctor cannot help with either condition. Get to the best academic medical center for both pain specialists and with neurosurgeon.
mm,
I think these two comments
yeah,
are parallel and both really important
yeah,
because a primary care physician is not going to be able to give you the level of care that you deserve if you're experiencing pain. They're a good starting point.
yeah.
I started my mental health journey with mental health meds with my primary care physician, but I failed the first two treatments that they prescribed
Hmm.
and went on to discover my nurse practitioner. How did I find her? I called my insurance and I asked for a psychiatric mental health or medical health professional who could prescribe psychiatric medication in my area. They gave me a list of 3 and told me if I needed more to call back. So I called all 3. I vibed really well with the front desk person at my current nurse practitioner's office. And that's how I selected to go see her. And I have had very good results with her. She knows her stuff. I failed a few treatments that she put me on too because I have treatment resistant depression, but we didn't know that until I continued to fail treatments.
Yeah.
And now she's got me on a really good cocktail, if I do,
Yeah.
want to use that term. So I think everybody who's saying here to work with a pain specialist or get a second opinion is onto something, because there are physicians out there who can help and support you. It's just a matter of getting connected with them.
If you don't like the term cocktail, how about blend?
Blend. Okay. My blend of
Medication.
medication blend. Okay. Sure. I think that's probably a better word because cocktail could be triggering.
Yes.
Yeah. Geoplanet Jane, weed now available has crazy high THC content, can be very difficult for many people. Totally agree with you, Jane. Towards the end of my run with marijuana, I was using really high THC content stuff and I needed it to function. It was very, I've heard Dr. Drew, I don't know if y'all have heard of Dr. Drew Pinsky. I love him, and he calls it dabbing with marijuana. He calls it like crackhead behavior. It's totally crackhead behavior, and you keep on going back every half hour or hour. Scary stuff.
Tara, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so did you have anger issues when you were on marijuana? Like where you would, like if you didn't have it and something triggered you that made you upset, that you turned to anger right away?
Absolutely. Yeah, there were times, especially because I was really frustrated with my living situation. Towards the end of my run, I was living in my car. I'd lived in it for 5 years at this point. And if I didn't have it, or if I hadn't had it, even if I had possession of it, but hadn't had it that day, little things would get to me, and I would just have these angry outbursts, and I'd start screaming, just like in the middle of the woods, like, God damn it, like just screaming at nobody. Also just feeling like I wanted to crawl out of my skin, and like I could not live in my own body if I wasn't high.
Thank you. I think that my son has issues with marijuana. He's addicted. You're a peer support, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I might have him get in contact with you if you're okay with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He has a hard time with communication. And I think that you, out of anybody, would be able to understand what he's saying without like either taking it personally or turning it around, because he tends to talk backwards sometimes. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but he has this habit of, it'll sound like he's saying one thing, but really he means another. So if you can get on board with him, and you might be able to do something for him. So I'm going to talk to him and see if he'll contact you.
Awesome. Yeah, he can reach out to me at terrasmiling@yahoo.com. I cannot type that into the chat. Ben, are you able to type terrasmiling@yahoo.com? And this goes for anybody who's looking for one-on-one support, or if you just want to chat, you can reach out to me at my email.
Boom.
Awesome.
Magic.
That's correct.
Yay!
Thank you. I'd be happy to talk with him, Tony.
Although
Thank you, Tara. It just dawned on me, who's the best person I could have him talk to, and who's the best person that could answer my question about weed, because I don't have that kind of problem. Okay, first of all, I'm not addicted to it. I have it for medicinal use because I have my medicinal card. My doctor prescribed it. And I use it when my pain is the worst. I'm high tolerant pain because of migraines. So I can take a lot of pain, but once it gets to the point where I just can't handle it, I take just enough of a hit to where it takes the edge off, you know? With Jonathan, he can't make it getting up first thing in the morning without taking a hit.
Neither could I. I couldn't pee without it.
Yeah. He can't do anything without it. So,
yeah. No, it was coffee and weed first thing in the morning.
Did you say Yahoo or Gmail?
Yahoo.
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 Almost like Yoo-hoo, that little chocolate drink you used to get the really crappy stores that sold like what do you call those? Scorpions and glass paperweights and pecan logs.
Yeah, I tried to get terrasmiling@gmail, but somebody else had it already, and I couldn't find something that was easy and memorable with Gmail. So I went the Yahoo route.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, it's working out great. So in terms of acceptance, I'm just thinking about all these conversations about working with prescribers, and I see how that could be applied. It's like, all right, the doc that I'm working with right now, not cutting it. I accept it, and now it's time to move forward.
Right. I can see it with any kind of thing that we do in life. This isn't working out. I accept that. Now I need to move on to what's going to work for me. And that can be medications, that can be therapy, that can be where you live, that can be, I mean, life is eclectic. Run with it.
If when we can, I feel like these substances, they crush our ambition. So Geoplanet Jane says, my late ex had so much potential. We'd completely destroyed his ambition. And I experienced the same thing. Me too. There's so much that I wanted to accomplish. Hey, Kristen, Melinda. There's so much that I wanted to accomplish when I was living in my car, but I was such a slave to that plant being marijuana, that I could not do anything. I was just constantly on a rat wheel, a hamster wheel, to get my next fix.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. You can still accomplish those things. Don't look at it as I never accomplished. Look at it as I still have to accomplish. It takes it from the negative to the positive.
Yeah.
This is what I can't do. Well, can you really not do it, or do you choose not to do it?
Yeah.
You know, again, can't, choose.
Well, I am choosing sobriety and recovery, and I have to accept, speaking on the topic today, which if you're just joining us, the topic today is acceptance. And I want to apply that to my recovery. It's not just with respect to grief or with respect to substance misuse or mental health recovery that we can apply acceptance. I'm thinking about it in terms of what Tony just said. And like, you're right, Tony. I believe you. I can accomplish all the things that I dreamt about doing and wanted to achieve while I was in my addiction. I think the challenging part of it that I'm trying to accept and move on from is that I still, 3 years later, am cleaning up the mess that I created when I was out there. There are things that I wish that I didn't have to deal with, financial issues, that I'm going to have to spend the next few years working through them to clear them up. I made horrible decisions when I was out there, and like, you got to pay the piper at some point, So I accept that I created this challenge for myself, and now I need to clean it up.
And you will. Just remember, little steps can get you just as far as big steps. It just takes a little bit more time. So if you need to take a little step instead of a great big step, take that little step until you can make it to where you're making big steps.
I want to say hey to Resin Matrix Rabbit. I hope that you're okay if you're in the hospital. Ones for Resin Matrix Rabbit.
Yes, ones.
I appreciate your comment, Tony. I like that, small steps are just as significant as big ones. That's a helpful reminder to me, because I was trained as an engineer. I worked in the medical device industry for several years, and I'm so used to delivering a final product. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Small steps don't really matter. Like, you got to deliver on the final product. But I think you're right. Ultimately, the small steps are what lead to the end result. So it is important.
And just think about when you were making those things, right? You still had to do the little steps to get to the bigger steps.
Yeah.
So it even applied there, if you look back.
Yeah.
So little steps can lead to bigger steps. And sometimes those bigger steps wear you out a little bit. So go back to the little steps. But don't stop that forward progression, especially if you're on a really good path right now.
Yeah, and it's one of those things I hear people mention a lot. They have this doctrine in SEALs training, of all things, where they practice so much everything that they do that they don't have to think about shooting somebody. They just boom, do it, and they do it so much. And what they call that is getting brilliant at the basics. And I think that carries over into so many things that we do. You get brilliant at doing the simple things that you don't even have to think about them anymore. You have them down so well. And enough basic things, you start equaling big splashes. So
these things, I think so many people can probably relate to this. I started using and drinking when I was a teenager, like when I was 15, which is later than some, but earlier than others. And so I've never been an adult and sober. Like, this is new. I'm like a baby, essentially. It's like flash backwards to when I was 15, 16. I'm like reliving those years again, but trying to adult. And it's sometimes very overwhelming, but I'm glad I don't have to do it alone. It's great to have places like this, the Lifeboat, other similar platforms where we can connect and relate to one another.
Your platform.
Tara Smiling. Yeah. Thank you.
Can't forget Tara Smiling.
Yeah.
Because your platform provides a lot of help as well. You really do. It's a compliment to Carol's channel. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that you're both out here. I'm grateful that you're both out here because there's some days you save my sanity.
Aw.
You really do. And also being able to be here to give some insight from my years of what I've been through to give others the ideas and how they can cope and stuff is nice as well, because of the fact that's who I am. I like to help others. I like to help them progress. And I think that's one of my issues right now is I don't know how to help my son, except for realize that he has to help himself first before I can help him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has to want it. He has to want it.
Yeah.
And I see GeoPlanet Jane's comment. As an engineer, you should know about project planning and management. I sure do. Large milestones always consist of smaller ones. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. You break a large project down and have milestones along the way. I still want to get to that final product though. And it's like, yeah, we can celebrate the small milestones, but show me the money is what I'm always thinking. So it's important that I be mindful of the journey and not trip on the final product too much.
Well, and the thing is, if you're not paying attention to the small journey, you're going to trip over a tree branch or something walking that path.
Yeah.
And then you have to like pick yourself back up, and you're still going to continue moving forward, but your steps are going to become that much smaller because you had to pick yourself up and get basically your inner motor going again.
Yeah.
So look, having a goal is really important, and wanting to reach that goal, but don't forget about these little steps that reach you to that little goal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I would echo that comment that you just made, Tony, to Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise says, I hear you. I wish I would have been open to peer support sooner in my life. There's no time like the present. There's no time like the present. And I think it's wonderful that you are now wanting to engage with peer support, situations like this, meetings like the Lifeboat, like Tara Smiling. I go live on Tuesdays. I just switched it to Tuesdays at 4:00 Pacific Standard Time. Carol's here every single day. I think y'all know at 1:40 Pacific Standard Time. The Lifeboat's on twice a day, 5:00 p.m. Pacific and 7:00. Usually like 7:05 and 5:05. And Tommy's been going live over there at like 7:30 Pacific p.m. So much support in this awesome YouTube community. I'm really thankful that I found y'all.
I'm thankful that Carol's on during the week, as well as the Lifeboat does the weekend, since Carol cut back because she needed to, which I fully support that. You know, you can't do everything all the time. You're gonna burn out. That's why it's good to take time for ourselves, realize what our limits are, and go from there. But don't exceed your limits, because then you wear out, you wear down, and your steps get a little bit smaller. Yeah. So if you want to keep towards that goal and make those bigger steps as well, you got to remember not to go beyond your limits.
Absolutely. Think of it, I love this comment. Think of it as prototyping. Great designs and prototypes always precede a beautiful final product that people will pay for. You're so right. You're so right, Jane. And I love the prototyping process. I always got pushed along in concept phase as an engineer because I was always trying to be a perfectionist. And I told Ben this the other day. At some point, I was given a little quote from a fellow engineer who had started not long before me. And she came by. I was working tirelessly on a report during concept about a prototype model. And she said, shoot the engineer, ship the product. That's something I had to learn. Like, I totally hear what you're saying. It's so important to spend time in concept and developing the prototype and determining what milestones there are and like planning everything out and breaking things up into smaller pieces. I'm totally with you there. I had to learn, though, to just sometimes roll with what you've got. Like, you can only perfect something so much before you've got to roll with what you got. And thank God I learned that lesson, because I'd probably still be writing that report if she hadn't shared that with me.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah. That's the thing, nothing's perfect. But when anything worth having is worth working for. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying before.
Oh no. Minsk is going to go. Minsk, I hope you have a great night. It was nice to have you here. Kenneth, I missed, where are we at? Oh, she's back.
Sorry, my lost connection. I don't know what happened. I was telling you that anything worth having is worth working for. Ben, you remember that comment, that saying?
Yeah.
So, but working for it doesn't mean making big, long, or taking a long time on one thing. You have to know when that one thing is ready to move on to the next thing and not overanalyze that first thing. And so as you go along, you get better and better at realizing, okay, I don't need to overanalyze this. I'm done with this. I'm good with this. I've got this. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. And then you incorporate the two together and you just keep building this. So not only are you taking these steps, but you're building your bridge at the same time that gets you to where you want to go.
Totally. Tommy Bird, I don't know if I've welcomed you in today. It's nice to see you here, Tommy Bird. Earlier, Tommy Bird said, wish I'd have not been so close to personal therapy. I thought, hey, if other people need it, that's fine. I just don't. Boy, I was so wrong and have benefited greatly. Oh, it moved on me. Benefited greatly from it. I can relate to this too. I didn't engage with therapy from a young age. My parents offered it to me when I was 16 years old. And I think I kicked myself, because I think back and I'm like, two things. I kick myself for saying, no, I don't want to do that. But I also wonder, why didn't they just put me in therapy? Like, what kind of a 16-year-old wants to go to therapy?
Yeah.
But I did, thank God, engage later in life, and it has been a life changer for me.
Yeah.
I'm operating at a totally different level. I have a self-understanding that I've never had before, and it feels really freeing.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily what a lot of people seem to think, where it doesn't mean half of what people think it means anymore. You're talking to somebody who's trained and can spot behavioral issues or all sorts of things. And sometimes it may not even be anything big, but you just need somebody else that you talk to and somebody who can spot your problems that we can't, because we're in our own heads and we have our own biases.
Yeah, and someone who's trained to help us process really, really challenging stuff. Because I could talk to my face turn blue to my best friend about something that happened to me when I was in second grade. But while she's always happy to listen to me, she's not trained to help me process it. And that's the value that I get working with my therapist, which I have a session scheduled with her this evening, and I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Kenneth, the advent of peer support online is amazing. Some folks, myself included, have a hard time doing in-person peer support. Well, that's what people like me are here for, and I'm not the only one. There's so much virtual peer support from the level of free to more private type of situations. Like, there's so much out there, and I think if it's like a doctor, it's like if one person doesn't work for you, try someone else. There's bound to be someone who's a good fit for you, or a group of people. I have gone through a couple different recovery groups before finding this one and the lifeboat. And I'm so happy that I didn't give up when the first few groups that I was vibing with didn't pan out for me. This group has been the best one I found.
Ah, you're sweet, Tara.
Thanks.
Keep wanting to say Tara, but I know it's not Tara. It's Tara.
It is Tara. A lot of people say it Tara, and I don't correct them. Actually, I have a story. I hesitate to tell it, but I started, so now I'm going. My grandfather used to call me Tara. He used to make a noise before. He'd always smack his lips before. He'd say, Tara. And I loved it. It was endearing. And so when people do call me Tara, it doesn't offend me at all, but it is Tara. And every time I tell that story about my grandpa, people start calling me Tara after. So I really shouldn't tell that story.
Nope, you're Tara.
Yeah, it's Tara.
Now I think of Terre Haute.
Indiana. Yep.
Indiana.
Yep.
Or Tara from the movie Gone with the Wind.
Yep, that's actually where I got my name. Sorry, I don't mean to talk about myself all of a sudden here. Real quick, I'll make it snappy. My mom wanted to name me Scarlet from Gone with the Wind, but my dad was like, we are not naming her Scarlet. So they compromised and went with Tara.
My brother was named Shane after the movie Shane. Or not Shane, it was, what was that movie? Ben, do you remember? It was a Western. Come back, Shane, come back. It was an old Western that my parents watched, and they liked the name Shane, so that's how he got his name.
The only name I can remember from Westerns is Chester. The guy was always limping.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love GeoPlanet Jane's comments. They're like activating a different part of my brain today. If you can get a great investor, even if product is not final, you really do have something. Same with personal progress. You need to be your own great investor. Yeah. That is so interesting.
That is so good.
That is such a great comment, Jane. Thank you for sharing that.
Basically, we invest in ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where we have to have that acceptance that we can do it. Back to your acceptance thing.
Yeah.
We can accept the fact that, it's a great idea. We know it's going to work. So now we have to accept that fact and work towards that final goal.
And I love the sort of business advice there too, that aspect, because I am developing my own business right now. It's a peer support agency. And I keep thinking, well, I have to have all the ducks in a row. Yeah, I'm not a business person. I'm an engineer. And so I keep thinking I've got to have the final product before I'm like, yo, do you want to get in on this? But I don't. I just have to have a proof of concept, which I have. So I really appreciate your comment, GeoPlanet Jane. And I love how you applied that to personal progress.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure I understand Minsk, but nothing to forgive on my end.
I think he meant to tag Tony in that as well.
Oh, okay.
About personal stories?
Just saying love and God bless. I think he wanted to include you there, but the names aren't displayed all the time.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm good with it. I don't usually see the comments anyway, so.
Oh, and another GeoPlanet Jane.
You want to read this one, Ben?
Therapy. I myself have never thought this way, but I know some people think therapy. Who, me? I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
That's exactly what a lot of people, it has a negative stigma attached to it, even in today's day and age, which is odd because therapists are so much more common than they were 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's not about being crazy. It's not even necessarily about behavioral issues. A lot of times it's just about having somebody who's somebody who's trained, and they can offer a lot of good solutions. And do not have. I mean, I keep thinking of A lot of my friends are professional drummers. We all still have drum instructors. Neil Peart, one of the best drummers ever walked the face of the earth, he still had a drum instructor. So
Hmm.
we need input.
Mm-hmm.
And mentorship.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking to this comment was that there's less of a stigma today. Thank God there's less of a stigma with having and working with a therapist than there used to be. Now I think it's even trendy in some places to have a therapist.
Yeah.
So that's positive progress.
The 1953 movie called Shane with the famous line, "Come, Shane."
Shane. Okay. Is that the movie you were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The 53 movie? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Krista Melinda.
Kristen Melinda. You want to take this one too, Ben?
Therapy can be short-term too. Like if you're going through something stressful and need extra support. It's called brief solution focused therapy, and it's limited to like 8 sessions. I like Krista Melinda's show. I love how you never quite know what you're going to get, and it's always fun. I still remember the time she was going to be talking about chocolate and, was it neurotherapy? I can't remember what, but it turned out to be chocolate and can you teach, what was it, squirrels to synchronize swim. I love that. That's great.
She says
I
it's
used to.
oh, go ahead.
I was a business major in college. So if you need any help with any business ideas, give me a holler.
I might take you up on that. Thank you.
Definitely. I do
Tony.
taxes too.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I will keep that in the forefront of my mind.
You're welcome.
Oh, another Geoplanet Jane comment. Just
Yay.
in case you didn't know, regarding the lifeboat in KC, where Tommy and Reese are, it's right now surrounded by big tornado activity. They're hitting in nearby Iowa, but close enough to be concerned. So if we could get some ones for everybody affected by this weather.
And I'm only two hours away from Tommy and Reese in Columbia, Missouri, which is the center of the state. Yes, hey Kenneth. So, but yeah, so that explains why it's gotten so dark here and the winds seem to have stopped. So if I disappear all of a sudden, send help.
Okay. Okay, that's concerning to me. That makes me go, but
Nah, I'm okay. I have a crawl space under my house that I can grab the baby and whoever is left in the house, and we go down under the house to where we'll be safe.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you have a space to be safe.
Hey, the Amazon driver can read. I have a sign by my garage door because it's different, but it says place packages here, and there's a white table under it with a snowman sitting on it. And Amazon walked right to the sign and put my packages there.
Nice.
I sit in my living room because that's where my desk is. And I see out the window because I like to see my birds. And I saw the Amazon person get out of their vehicle and put the package where it belongs. I love it.
It's a good day. You know, when things are going your way like that, it's like go buy a lottery ticket, you know?
Baby's comfy and we're doing good. So yeah.
Yeah. And I
got to be on here.
Yes, it's
How
nice.
much better.
Nice to have you here, Tony. I miss Carol. I wish Carol was here.
I did too.
I love
and
Carol.
Rebecca. And Rebecca.
Oh, and it looks like we got Cosmic Christie in the house. Cosmic, hey, nice to see you, Cosmic.
Hey, Cosmic.
Cosmic says, I've been seeing a psychologist off and on, mostly on, since I was 15 or 16. I'm 44 now. I wish that was me. I wish I'd started seeing someone at 16.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I was going to tell you, Tara. It's okay to wish to have started like that, but then would you be the person you are today if you had done the therapy back then?
Probably not.
Would you have the experience you have today if you had the therapy?
But would that be the worst thing in the world? You know, maybe I'd be shacked up with a couple children who are doing really well, you know, like who knows? But
right.
I don't wish for my life to be anything other than it is right now. I'm really happy with the way it's going, even though I'm having to deal with some tough things right now. I accept that that's the case and I'm up to the challenge.
And not only that, but look at all the help you're providing people.
Oh,
You could have been that stay-at-home mom with 2 great kids and a dog and a house, but how many people do you help that way?
mhm.
Whereas with your learned experience through life, you now have a platform to come on to that says, hey, look, I've been there. I know what you're going through. I know we go through things differently, but come on over. Let's talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You're
the way I
right.
look at it.
That's
That's the way I
a
look at it.
wonderful perspective, and I really appreciate you for sharing that.
That's how I've had to come to look at life. I always go, well, maybe if I did it differently, or maybe if I did this. And then I stopped thinking that way, realizing that if I had changed the course of my life back then, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't have the help to offer that I have today. So, no, I like my life the way it is now. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Fair winds and following seas, Cosmic.
Henny. Hey, Henny.
Hi, Annie.
Nice to see you. Did you have your coffee today?
Coffee. I've got to
Coffee.
work on that. I still want her to do the quote, say hello to my little friend. I know that was said by somebody with a New York accent.
Mm. That's wonderful that it's far more effective for you now, Christy. That's great news, because who wants to spend all that time spinning wheels and not getting anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
So
Yeah, if I were,
everybody, go ahead.
I was just going to really quickly say if I was around Henny for too long, I'd pick up on her accent because I'm accent sensitive.
Are you? I think I am too. I spent some time in Canada and say A every once in a while. People guess that I'm from Canada more than they guess places that I've actually lived. I'll take it. Canadians are awesome.
I'm Canadian,
You
although I
are?
live in Missouri. Yeah,
I didn't
born
know
and
that.
raised.
Oh,
Born and
Canada,
raised in
eh?
Canada. And I lived 180 miles north the Arctic Circle in Nunavut, Northwest Territories,
Nunavik.
Canada. You can look it up. It's on the maps.
Yep. I know where
Interesting.
Nunavik is.
Okay. That is not somewhere I have visited yet.
Yet. Good way to look at it.
Cosmic, I think it was Al Pacino. I think. But yeah, I want to get Henny to say that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what do we think? I'm going to quote Carol. Have we had a meeting today?
Wait, how do you do that?
Is there anything outstanding that needs to be discussed that we haven't yet discussed? Or is there anything more on acceptance that needs to be said? I just got to say, while we're giving people an opportunity to respond, this has been a pleasure. I've had so much fun doing this. I really miss Carol, and I hope that she's doing well, and it will be so nice to see her. On Thursday is probably when I'll be at the next meeting because I work tomorrow. But I've really enjoyed this.
Me too.
And Ben's starting to dance. It's a good day when Ben's dancing. It's always a good sign when Ben's dancing.
Oh, man,
Yes.
Antarctic. Ooh, penguins.
So I see some threes. I don't see anything other than threes. I'd give it a good solid 3 as well. Okay, Cosmic. Oh, I have to accept that my daughter is happy in her life regardless of what I think about it, and I have to let the emotions go. Accept love. That's
Yes.
deep.
Yes. I understand where Cosmic is coming from because I have a daughter that's in a situation I'm not overly thrilled with, but it's her life. She has to live it.
Oh my gosh.
And Cosmic, we miss you too. Cosmic said, I need a meeting big time when I get back. I can't wait to
That-
see you again and hear about your trip, Cosmic.
That is so awesome, GeoPlanet Jane. I want to go to the Antarctic. I've been to the Arctic. I need to go to the Antarctic now.
I missed that one. I would love to live in the Arctic or Antarctic. Woo, almost did once. That would be chilly. I like the beach, like the warmth of the sun and not freezing my tail off.
Uh-oh.
Carol!
Uh-oh.
Oh,
bandwidth.
no!
Bandwidth's a killer. Oh, she's back in. I'm going to toggle her immediately because she's trying to talk. There she is.
Carol!
You're muted. Hold on.
Oh, no.
She keeps toggling herself out. Let's try it again. Now you're unmuted. Oh.
How about now?
We can
Gotcha.
hear you. Yes. Hey, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hey, how are you?
We miss you.
I miss you guys. Turns out that Steve's cousins came into town. And so we went to go and meet where they were eating. And so it's his birthday.
It was
today.
my cousin's kids. They're kind of like my nephew. So it was too fast. Hi, everybody.
I bet.
Hi.
It's so sweet. Can you guys hear and see me okay?
I can. Yeah, we can hear you. It's a little spotty,
Okay.
but we can hear you and see you.
Okay. What were you going to ask?
I was going to ask how the quality of your time was that you got to spend together.
Well, pretty good if you like paying taxes and going to the DMV. That's what.
Oh, hold on. She accidentally muted herself.
Oh no, you're muted.
Oh, she's good now.
Try again.
Try sign language.
If you like paying taxes and go and sitting in the DMV for 2-3 hours, he had a great birthday. If you like that.
Carol got to go shopping, and then I still wasn't done, so she got to go to the thrift shop.
To take the go to Aldi to get some groceries, non-perishables.
And
Nice.
So,
I think I misunderstood.
brother's
Oh, go ahead.
my brother's birthday is tomorrow.
well, happy
So-
birthday to all.
So
I'm
you
sending
were
him a
born
gag gift.
you were born one day apart from one
Yeah.
another.
And
Dang.
5 years, 364 days. So,
Okay.
I was
Okay.
almost- It was almost
What
his
are the
birthday.
chances?
Right?
Yeah.
But it's your birthday, right? Or am I confused?
No, it is. It's my
It is
birthday.
today, and then his brother's is tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. So you did a joint celebration. I misunderstood in the beginning, and I thought it was just your brother's birthday, Steve. But now I'm understanding it was both of your birthdays within 24 hours. That's super cool.
Yeah. So I'm kind of sending him a gag gift.
What is it?
It's a shirt that says, "It's hard being the same age as old people."
What do you think his response is going to be?
Oh, he'll laugh. He'll totally laugh.
Yeah, he'll love it. And then there's another shirt that's it's a Razorback shirt. That's our local college mascot, but I got it for free from my work, and it's about 2 sizes too big. And he's about 2 sizes bigger than me. So
That works.
he's getting a hand me up instead of a hand me down.
I was just thinking it was the opposite of a hand me down. You beat me to the punch.
I had my fingers crossed. Witty's the only wit I have left. Every other faculty has left me a long time ago.
Oh my goodness. That some acceptance needs to be applied to that. So Carol, we talked about acceptance today, and I'm kind of curious on your thoughts about acceptance since you're here.
That was one of those subjects I wanted to cover. So that is very cool that you did. You know, in my old age, it's gotten easier to accept things as they are, not as I wish them to be. I used to torment myself, wishing things could be different than what they were. And it didn't matter what it was, I always wanted it to be different. I just never could be content with where I was or, how I found myself.
Mm.
And, as a matter of survival, I have had to learn just, okay, this is how things are. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have moments where I wish things could be different,
Yeah.
but, I guess it's gotten easier with age. You just, you don't have a choice but to roll with the punches.
Right. I can relate to what you're saying because I shared a similar sentiment that sometimes I forget that I did have such a problem and I start fantasizing about, well, I've been recovered for 3 years. Like maybe I could engage responsibly. But then that's dangerous for me.
Yeah.
I think maybe not for everybody, but
Yeah.
for me, I think it's a slippery slope. And so I have to go back to the acceptance piece.
Yeah. It took me a long time to come to grips with not taking a drink when I was new in recovery. It really, it wasn't until I just completely just put my focus somewhere else that and just kind of pushed that part of my life aside for a while. But that was just the thought of not being able to just drink if I wanted to was just more than I could really take in sometimes.
Henny, our Henmeister, wrote, very well said, Carol. I learned radical acceptance from Dr. Ramani.
Right on. Love her. Yeah. She's got a lot of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so do you. I'm so glad that you were able to make it because I was just right before you came on. I was like, I miss Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you all got to have a good time with Steve's brother and to celebrate Steve's birthday. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool that it's his second cousins that were in town. And so that was really cool that we got to see them. We just came from where we met up with them. Right on. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you squeezed us into the mix. Thank you.
Yeah. I tried getting on earlier and I kept having technical glitches.
Oh.
It kept denying my microphone and all kinds of things. I tried just using the link, but it wasn't going to work for me, I guess, because I set the meeting up. I don't know.
Well, I think the people that say that we're out of Mercury retrograde thing, I think they're liars.
I think they are too.
Yeah.
I think it's still in shadow. Like it's in retrograde for a period of time, and then when it travels back over the path that it retrograded over, that's called shadow, and stuff can still go wrong during that time.
Plant Freak is doing well. She's had a lot of intensity lately. Just a lot of stuff come up that takes a lot, and so she's just been tending to things, but she's doing good.
Yeah,
I saw her briefly yesterday.
Yeah, I saw her this morning. So yeah, she's doing good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had fun. You needed it.
Yeah. I mean, if you call the DMV fun, I guess it is fun.
Absolutely.
Well, I paid a quarter of our farm taxes too. That felt pretty good.
Feels good to have it a distant memory.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Well, I know I can handle it without stress this way.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
somehow I crisscrossed another driver here who probably is, their birthday will be twice my age. They'll be 110, but they didn't hit us. So actually, she didn't look a day over 89. You know, I'm laughing, but I'll probably be on my way to work at 89.
Me
Where are we
too.
going,
If
Bill?
I don't get my butt in gear, me too.
Right on.
Me too. Well,
Yeah, same.
you know, I'm afraid they're going to like value our currency so much that
Hmm.
we're not going to know what we have in the bank.
Yeah.
I mean, which way, Carol? Straight?
Mhm.
We're going
Well,
somewhere, but I don't know where.
we could start bartering, and I will trade sourdough.
Hmm.
Okay. Sourdough would be good because it's almost no gluten. And then you just
I
keep adding to, you save a wart and you add to it and grow it into the next batch of sourdough.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I actually have made a gluten-free sourdough starter before. His name was Rico, and I had to let him go. And speaking of sourdough starters, I know it was really sad. I was living at shelters and I just couldn't keep up on it. But today is Vicky, my current sourdough starter. It's her 1-year birthday today.
Wow. Well, happy birthday, Vicky.
You know, even Vicky though, I mean, they're like, I forgot the parts per million, but like a regular sourdough is like 80 or 100 parts per million gluten, whereas regular bread is 10,000 or 100,000. I mean, it's a large percentage of gluten.
I did not know that. I also forgot that we had a birthday in the house, and now come to find out we have 2 birthdays in the house today.
The gluten is eaten by the sourdough process, according to a friend of mine, and I count on him because he's smarter than me.
So I'm gonna rename Vicky for her birthday. And Steve's birthday. She's now gonna be known as Vicky the Gluten Demolisher.
Oh, cool!
Okay.
That is a great name.
That is.
Because I'm a sourdough demolisher.
Well, if we have to go back to bartering, I will gladly make y'all some sourdough.
You know, my mom used to bake bread, and we loved it, but she would get so discouraged because we would eat 4 loaves in like 2 days because it tastes so good.
It's so darn good. It's so dang good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is.
Well, I'm about to take Steve to his surprise for his birthday.
Okay, and we were
But I
about.
wanted to pop in and say hi.
I'm so glad you did. We were just getting ready to wrap it up, and you popped in at
Right
the
on.
perfect time.
Hey, Wes.
Right on.
Yeah,
Well, thank you guys for
How
holding
are
down
you?
the fort.
it's a pleasure and an honor. Thanks
Can
for
you hear me,
trusting us.
Wes?
Thank
to do
you
it.
so much. I appreciate it.
I'm trying. I don't know if I'm heard or not.
He's talking to his brother. Well, I love you guys, and see you tomorrow.
I love you too. I'll be working tomorrow, but hopefully I'll see
Okay.
you third. I think I'm working on Thursday too. I'll probably see you on Friday.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Bye.
This is the super broken phone. It's the backup to my other broken phone.
He's hilarious. She's back.
I got a screen and fixed it, and then I broke it.
So
It's the next screen.
and she's back again.
Oh, she turned herself off. Okay.
I got asked to join the steering committee for the company that I just got a job with.
Mhm.
So I have that on Thursday during this meeting. It's an honor to be on the steering committee, but I won't be able to make this meeting.
Good for you, though. That is quite a boon to throw in your cap.
Oh,
You
I
don't have
know.
a cap, but you need one.
It's nice, but I love this meeting. I'll miss y'all.
Oh, I wish I could say something else to say to that, but I got nothing.
That's okay. Silence is sometimes in order.
Well, I do hope you have an awesome day, young lady.
Thank you. This is perfect timing because I volunteer in 40 minutes. So that'll give me just enough time to freshen up and mosey on out.
Well, you don't have a donkey. You need to get a donkey so I can ask you how it's doing. But
I don't know where I would put a donkey. I do not have a yard. That's why I have a sourdough starter.
I will let you do the honors.
The honors of closing this lovely meeting down.
The obligatory
Final word. Okay, I was not prepared for this at all, but let's do it. Let's see how it turns out. Well, everybody, it has been a pleasure. It's always nice to connect with you all. We talked about acceptance today, and I think acceptance can be applied to just about any topic that is a challenging one. I know I need to think about how I can apply to acceptance in certain areas of my life so that I can get moving forward. I need to accept the fact that we missed Carol today and only got to spend a short amount of time, and now I'm not going to get to see her till Friday. I just have to accept it and move on. But it was an absolute pleasure interacting with you all today. I appreciate Ben and Tony for coming up on the panel. I hope everybody's feeling well on this Tuesday? It's Tuesday. On this Tuesday afternoon. And in honor of Carol, I think she always said, well, sometimes she was saying for a while, I forget what she would say, go on and prosper or something. All I remember is until next time, peace, y'all.